Bingo! Ho 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 ho!
If there was ever a game approaching the limits of perfection, Resident Evil 4 is it. Like a fine wine that only ages better with time. There is nothing this game does that I can really complain about, and as someone who plays video games fairly regularly, I can complain a lot about meaningless nonsense, and yet this game defies that. Every piece of this game is so delicately well crafted that every second of play is a joy. Okay, well, maybe there are a few things that could be improved, but really that's it. The story, the characters, the tone,
Bingo.
and especially the gameplay is simply sublime. I find myself replaying this gem every so often just to discover new things I like about it every time. In fact, let's go over a list of why RE4 makes me, close parentheses, so much. The story is that you're Leon from Resident Evil 2 and in Spain or whatever. That's it. Okay, you're there to investigate the whereabouts of the US president's stolen daughter, since apparently Leon went from being a rookie cop in RE2 to a very close ally of the President of the United States of America. He eventually finds a medieval European village whose residents are part of a cult run by a Lord Sadler. Yes, this makes no sense, and it is glorious. You know what else is great? This game basically ignores the rest of the RE canon. Look, I get that some people might like the schizophrenic storyline behind it all, but I just find it so refreshing to say, fuck that, and let Leon screw around in Spain or whatever. The story is very unimportant, and anyone can jump into this game without knowing any of the convoluted stories of past games. You're Leon in Spain or whatever, shoot some Europeans, stop Lord Sadler, and get the girl. Done. Remember this character? No, of course not, no one does. That's because no one remembers any characters from RE6 except Blowjob Giraffe. RE6 actually tried to take the dumbass RE storyline seriously, and the characters all tried to act as if they were in a AAA action movie, which was boring. In direct contrast, every character in RE4 oozes charm, and most importantly, cheese. Leon's cheesy one-liners are absolutely wonderful.
I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
I've been expecting you, my brethrens.
No thanks, bro. Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Every stupid thing he says is quotable and memorable. And speaking of quotable and memorable...
What are you buying? Is that all, stranger?
Okay, we all knew he was coming up, right? The Cockney Merchant is somehow one of the most iconic characters despite the fact that we barely know what he looks like or know next to nothing about his past. As opposed to this, where we know a lot yet simply do not care. Of course, you can't mention RE4 without talking about Ashley. Even the Fetch Quest character is somehow both likable and memorable. I think part of what makes her charming is that apart from certain traits, she's also not that stupid and will generally hide well with your guidance, and blowing her up is really fun. Luis is another fun addition to the hero's side, as he's a Latin romantic archetype who can appreciate Ashley's talents, as well as having a very memorable, unique kill scene with Leon if you pick him off. The last character I'll mention for now is Salazar. He is my favorite. This is the campiest and stupidest character, and I love him. He's a malformed guy in his 20s who cosplays as Napoleon and has a giant mecha of himself not too far from the feudal European village, and also has a spiked death trap room with mutated executioners and fuses with one and becomes a giant plant boss. I'm not going to explain any of that. That's not even all the great characters from this game, but you get the point. Memorable and fun, which suits the insane campy tone of the game so well. RE4 is basically a B-movie with actors that know the movie is stupid, so they just have fun with it. Yes, this is technically a game in the Resident Evil horror franchise, yet I have already mentioned one-liners, Cockney merchants, and giant mechas. Oh, did I forget to mention Indiana Jones, Wolverine, and Mudkip? How about the very realistic ways Leon deals with his problems? 1 second, you're dealing with acidic insects, then doctors with chainsaws, then snakes, then giants. It's a rip-roaring good time all around, and yet, it can actually still be genuinely creepy. Later on in the game, you go into a lab where you see a bunch of frozen specimens, and the terrifying regenerators appear and make horrifying noises. It's important to note that sometimes between all this crazy shit, you can get these really silent and moody atmospheric scenes too. The save room music is ingrained into my brain at this point since it's always a safe haven when the insanity becomes too much. But then you step out of that little room and bam, you're hit with it all over again. Refreshed and ready as you continue towards your goal of whatever, who cares, you're having fun. It's impressive how well the timing and sequencing in this game is. The lab part is definitely a creepy section of the game, while the intro goes from calm to a hectic nightmare and back again quickly. The peaks and troughs of the horror and campy elements are yet another fantastic part of this game, but these would all be wasted if the core gameplay wasn't also good. Luckily, it is far beyond that. Somehow, I've always liked all the mechanics from RE4, even its weird perspective and movement. For some reason, it all just blends together quite well. In this game, you can try to go Rambo and everything, but you can't move while shooting, so positioning is key. This game in particular is pretty revolutionary for its approach to aiming, but what's also been very novel about this game is the melee combat. It's fun. Very, very fun. I like it a lot. The key to saving precious ammo in this game is utilizing a combination of your guns and melee skills together. Shoot one guy in the head and then go in for a kick and you'll usually hit a bunch of guys all around you. Or, if you don't really care about that, then go crazy with guns and upgrading them and try that out. The merchant who you talk to lets you customize your weapons a lot, and there's a ton of replayability with new builds every time. The knife is another key piece of Leon's kit, since it doesn't take up any ammo and can be used infinitely, so why not try out a knife-only run? The doors in this game are also valuable weapons to use at your disposal, as well as ladder iframe cheese. Basically, play how you want. Once you beat the game, you're able to carry over stuff as well as unlock new difficulties, so you're incentivized to keep playing. There's also a ton of unlockables and modes in the game if you're one of those 100% completionist lunatics. The enemy's behavior also changes depending upon difficulty, and enemies will often react very differently depending upon the weapons you decide to use. One last thing I cannot forget to mention about the gameplay and mechanics, of course, is the attaché case. The fact that pretty much everyone loves this weird menu thing is a testament to how this game has stood the test of time. I love Earthbound, but using the menu is like pulling fucking teeth. The game is still great, but that fucking menu always drives me up the fucking wall. This 2005 game somehow still has one of the funnest inventory screens, and it's literally just Tetris. Another great thing about it is you have the option to increase the size of your case to fit in more things. The option. Yes, another option and more agency given to the player so you can choose your own way of playing? Do you choose to spend your money on this upgrade? Forgo it entirely to spend the money elsewhere? Your choice. You get to call the shots here again. And much like Breath of the Wild, a large amount of the fun you have is your own tailored approach to problem solving. You have options here about how to do things, and that will always be welcome in any video game I choose to play. RE4 is good. Play it, and then play it again. The characters are a blast to watch as they go through this insane world while the game doesn't get up its own ass about continuity or even basic logic at points. It is pure, undistilled joy. I really don't have much more to say other than that I hope the eventual RE4 remake doesn't fuck it up somehow. Just remake the game in even higher HD. That's all this great game ever needs. It's the closest game nearing perfection that I can think of, and any attempt to recapture the magic will probably be doomed to being forever compared to it. And trust me, no one ever wants to be compared to their older, more successful brother.